Today we are looking at the remake reload of Persona 3, in this case, Persona 3 Reload. Now, I've talked about a couple other games in the Persona series, Persona 5, as well as Persona 5 Tactica. Well, I wasn't a big fan of Tactica just because I've never been one to really been into tactical RPGs. I did enjoy Persona 5, and one of the things I really liked about Persona 5 is that it got you right into the story, into the action. You got a feel for it right away. That tutorial stage was very welcome to the fast-pacedness of the gameplay and the style, especially for someone who hadn't played it before. This opening to Persona 3, very anime-esque. You're seeing the story somewhat. You're also seeing the main characters here, very beautifully done. Is there Persona anime? It seems like it'd be a shame if there wasn't one, considering the character models and everything, and the whole blowing your brains out thing is kind of weird. But, you know, it's part of the story, so it's interesting. Very violent. I am sad that I missed the original version when it was on Game Pass to kind of compare what it looked like when it was originally released. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was originally released on the PSP. So it's been a while, obviously, and they ported that over last year or so, and it was on Game Pass, and it just left a few months ago in preparation for a reload to come out. Now, this is a very, very, very long opening, and I don't quite remember Persona 5's opening being this long, but very nicely done. Like I said, if there isn't an anime, there really needs to be one. One of the things I did enjoy about this game is the different modes: peaceful, easy, normal, hard, merciless. There are some times with games that I just want to play for the story, and at this stage of my gaming life, that's a lot of what I want to do. So, being easy and peaceful is definitely something I appreciate when it comes to the options for a game like this. Because one thing about RPGs for me, it's all about the story. Yes, it's the grinding and everything, but it is all about the story, and that is what I'm here for. So time waits for no one. All are equal in its flow, and lives or to their ends. Sorry, no glasses, so it's hard to read at times. Like I said, just the opening to this game is super duper long, just to set up as far as the city and how bustling it is. And I don't know, as you get into the story later, I'm not sure how important that is, honestly. I like the setup, I like the understanding, but I don't know. Again, I haven't gotten that far into the story, so maybe it plays more of a part later on.
Just put it
But
to my head. And then
you see his
the trigger.
character just the whole blowing your brains out to release.
Come on.
I forget what they're called. They're not
There's
avatars
no
or
way I
personas.
can.
Duh, that's the name of the game. So she's not able to get her nerves, and it's interesting seeing that scene now again after playing through later on to understand why she was holding a gun in her head, because without knowing, it's quite disturbing to see this young woman hold a gun to her head. She thinks she's doing other things and not releasing her persona. Or at least not attempting to in this case, because she didn't release Jack. Can somebody tell me, is there Persona 3 anime? Because this is really well done. Or I would be amazed if there wasn't. I'm gonna look this up after this to see if there's a Persona anime of any sorts, because this seems very interesting, and I would want to know if they have translated the story into the anime medium, considering what we're looking at right now. It's very well done. And I think something like this is just taken and adapted into a series or a movie, even. Now, that's strange. All right, so this is the maybe not the one thing I didn't like. After I traversed the world slightly, I got a hang of it, but it's just you didn't really know where to go. It tells you where to go, at least in this opening, but you don't need to go left or right. I mean, you figure it out, but sometimes I would just prefer maybe an arrow or something to tell you, hey, you should go this way or go that way, or some sort of compass in the corner to let you know which direction you're supposed to go in. Okay, coffin like object just in the middle of busy or not so busy, but typically busy strip mall in the daytime. Yeah, I thought I could go up the steps, but I couldn't. More coffin-like structures. I will say that's very strange to start off the game with this. Obviously, it comes into play as the story progresses, but it's very strange and somewhat jarring because, as someone who's not familiar with the lore Persona, especially since I only dipped my toe into five, and clearly that was drastically different than this. Excuse me. I just think that it's quite jarring and it really leaves you for a loop of not knowing what to expect with this game, which is cool, very cool as far as I'm concerned. Like I don't know what to expect when it comes to this. All right, you're in the dorm. You know, one of the things I thought that there would be a whole bunch of people. This kid is creepy. Now, why is this creepy kid skulking around this dorm in the middle of the night? And why do I have to sign a contract? I know it's one of those things that becomes clear as the game goes on, but this is, again, weird. You're coming in the middle of the night, there are coffins everywhere, there are puddles of black goo as well. No one else is around. This creepy kid just appears and asks you to sign a contract. Strange. Of course, we're going Webster style. And why is the kid dressed like he was in jail or some other historical events, if you know what I mean? It's kind of odd and strange to me. All right, come on, kid. I gotta go. Gotta get to my room. All right, now, so we skipped ahead because it took about 40 minutes to really get into some of the story, and it was just so boring going back and forth to the school. Ugh. It was boring. It was very boring. I just want to get to the action and get to the meat and potatoes of this story. So you see, they are really monitoring him because apparently he doesn't experience that coffin effect during the dark hour. As you're going to see, kind of what happens here when the dark hour occurs. I kind of fast over there. So the dark hour happens is that time between midnight and what the new day or something like that. So all of those who are protected, who are able to, what something about being in coffins and then those that aren't, they just, well, you're about to see what happens to this gentleman here. This poor innocent soul.
What's happening to me?
Yep. It's gotta be a horrible, horrible, horrible way to go. So my question, when after the dark hour, who cleans up the black goo? Because did it just disappear? Like, how does that work? And this guy is still sleeping throughout the whole thing, so they're trying to figure out
12
what's
midnight.
going on with
You
him.
could say it's the hidden hour. During this time, an
So you
ordinary
get
person
explanation here. Ordinary people trust the microphone to coffins, and it's obvious to all that occurs, oblivious to all that occurs. So, yeah.
As you can see, he's retained his human form. He may be
So
asleep.
he retains his human form and doesn't turn into black goo. So they're trying to figure out what kind of potential power he has. And again, it took about 40 minutes to get to this point. It was boring. I really became frustrated in that fact because,
In any case, we should continue to
again,
monitor him for a few more
that
days.
part of it may become more prevalent or pertinent to the story, but up until this point, it was just boring, boring. That's all I can say. But this part starts to get into the story a little bit, get an understanding of these things, and here he is while he's sleeping. He goes to this room.
Welcome
The
to
Velvet
the
Room.
Velvet Room.
Now, this guy, if he's not evil, they sure as heck made him look like he's evil. He looks like a slimmed down version of the Penguin. And I didn't realize how long I waited to respond to him at this point.
My name is Igor.
And he would be named Igor.
I am delighted to make
They
your
can't come up with a more
acquaintance.
original name than Igor, really.
This
Igor.
is Elizabeth. She's a resident here, like myself.
Pleased to meet you.
This place exists between
So it exists between dreams and reality, mind and matter.
Only those who have signed the
So this is where the contract comes into play. So the contract is tied to the Velvet Room.
From now on,
Always read fine print when it comes to contracts. Don't just sign anything.
you were
You never know what you may be signing away.
ability, and you will require my assistance to do so.
Especially if the offer is
I
too
only
good to be
ask
true.
One thing in return. Abide by your conscience.
Again,
And
only
assume
asking for just
full
one thing in
responsibility for the
return.
choices you make.
You take responsibilities for your choices. I wonder what that really means. Because I feel as though there is obviously something
For now,
maybe not mischievous but diabolical afoot when it comes to that. Of course, I'm going to take the key.
until we meet again.
Now, I wonder what happens if you say no. I have to try that out next time. Say no and see what happens. So yeah, you go each day, you go to school, you come back home, some after school stuff, you go to sleep. It's, again, I hope that becomes a more clearer part of the story as we go along, but it is absolutely tedious in the beginning, in my opinion. Running around the school, and then this cat, when they go out afterwards, and actually this is what we're gonna do. Now, he's talking about going to sleep in class. Have you ever gone to sleep in class before? I had that happen once in high school. Very extenuating circumstances, but I was dead tired. My teacher understood though, because he understood what was going on at home. But that must have been weird because I snore. So I couldn't imagine the conversations that were being had while I was sleeping in that class. It was a social studies class, if I remember correctly. So, and with teachers that sound like this, I would be asleep too. Goodness. Talk about boring, unexciting. And yes, of course, I'm going to be the good student and choose not to go to sleep in class and to stay awake, even though clearly this cat is dead tired. I just feel like they should have had the teachers be like Charlie Brown, like womp 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 womp. That's really what it should have been like. So these social stats, I wonder how they're gonna play early on. I missed a not a courage one. I forget the other one earlier in this play session. So I'm wondering how much that's going to tie into your overall character development and progression. Because I can only imagine how much of an effect that has in fights. So the whole school aspect may be a bit more intertwined with the story and being a student than I probably would like. We shall see as we keep going though. So he just wants to hang out.
This place may not look like much, but I'm not complaining. Let's check out the CDs first.
He's a good dude. He just like this dude wants to hang out. He just wanted company, so he's just there. And this is what 2009. So yeah, we're still talking about CDs. I miss CDs. Do y'all miss CDs? I don't miss CD binders though, but I miss just physically having a CD. Yeah. All right, we're back at the dorm. And the weird part about this, like this character, she didn't want you to tell anybody what you saw when you came in that night, which was really odd. I mean, it makes sense, but even then it's like, okay, as this character, she knows something's up, but she doesn't want me to say anything. I don't know why I always want to go to the first door instead of the door at the end of the hall. As you see, I'm 41 minutes into the game. We haven't fought anybody. There has been no real advancement of the plot outside of the little section you saw earlier. Nothing. 41 minutes into the game. That was quite disappointing. Like I said, this whole school part just felt so tedious. Now, I knew something was going to happen here because it wasn't the normal go to sleep cycle. The fact that you know you have that key in your pocket lets you know that what you saw was real. And we go night night, but of course, it's not going to be a peaceful night. It's now the dark hour.
How is he?
Looks like he's a little worn out. He went to bed without changing out of his uniform.
They're talking. I'm going to be looking forward to when there is I'm assuming to have some team-based combat, like a traditional RPG or JRPG. That I'll be very interested in, just to see how that plays out. That's something I didn't experience that much of when I played Persona 5 because I ain't played too much into it to get to that point. At least, did I? I don't remember. It's been a while. I gotta check it back out again. And even in Persona 5 Tactica, I did like that team aspect of it, even though it was that tactical game moving to different squares and stuff, which I am just not a fan of at all. Alright, so one of the unseen evil entities is chasing the guy who's out on the streets and leading him right back to the dormitory. So, of course, now we're at the cusp of getting some action. Goodness, it only took almost an hour to get some kind of action in this game. I think he's hurt. And they're going to be here any second. How do women have the children? Yep, not a normal one. Alright, so now like, okay, we need to get this kid up. We need to get him out of here. We need to protect him. Of course, you already know how this whole segment is going to end up. They are trying to get him out to protect him, but you know who actually does the protecting. standard tropes. Not a problem with him, just saying, we already know what's going to happen here. He's the main character, for goodness sakes. Of course. She's like, I don't care if you're naked. I'm coming in. Okay, so she's kind of giving him a little bit of info. Now, I wonder how effective the short sword actually is. Or is it going to be? Run. Of course, there's no safe space. Every time or every place you think you can escape, it's right nearby, lurking, creeping, coming right at you. Well, it's time to get scared, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to run. And we fade to black. Let's fade back in. The loading screens on this are kind of abysmal, especially considering it's... I know it's a regular hard drive on the Xbox One, but still. I feel like sometimes we got faster loading times off of a disc back in the day. As you see, I run around this place like I'm drunk and like I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. Now, we're upstairs. We got to run upstairs. Now, I really didn't realize there were more steps. I thought this was the top floor for some reason. So now I'm running around like, where do I go? What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? And then I realized, oh, there are more steps. Let's go upstairs again and again and again. Here I'm standing here. Well, not really. And then it stops and it loads in between each floor, which is kind of a pain. Like, why can't I just run up the stairs? All right. You think you're getting farther away, but it's getting closer and closer and closer. All right, they're at the exit. But are they really going to be safe? We all know how this is going to go. Whew, we're outside. We made it. I locked the door. Now, this right here is kind of creepy, I will admit. So you see a hand. Wait a minute, how many fingers on that hand? Okay, there are 5. And you see the mask and you think, okay, there's a head. No, it's like this interlacing of arms holding a mask. That is such a weird design. And she is so scared. And she is like, get out of here. Pimp slaps her like, wow, get out of here. Where's my money? We're going to take it out your hide with all these swords. And of course, he has his epiphany as to who he really is. There you go. That's right. You know who you are. Little creepy boy again. Little creepy boy. This is where it should come and say, I have the power. Considering what happens next. There we go. I have the power. And then you see his persona come out. This is really pretty. Orpheus, master of strings. But wait, there's more. Orpheus is all beautiful and genteel and peaceful and all about good guys and light. Oh, headache. That can't be good. You're like, what's going on? What's happening? Even the persona is doing the same thing. And we have a change. Change clothes and go. So, is this another version of Orpheus or is this a persona altogether? Does he have multiple personas that he can draw from? That's a question. It reminds me of the Berserk Unit 01 in Evangelion. Because this persona seems berserk. And maybe a lot of parallels, like the head mask thing reminds me of the Evangelion with its mouth open and going berserk and its teeth going. It's ripped off the arm of the angel and squished it just like it did there. Did it squish it or did it use it regenerate his arm? I forget. It's been a while. But very similar parallels. And then it just turns back to Orpheus just like that. So strange. It would be interesting playing the story and see why that happens. That's something I'm very curious about to see what happens. Okay, so Orpheus disappears, and are we done? That's it. That's kind of lackluster. Oh no, these guys are still here. Eek. I thought this chick was supposed to be, I don't know, made of sterner stuff for her to be going eek, like some damsel in distress. That's not what I got from her character at first. All right, so the shadows. All right, now with the battle system, I liked it. I like it when battle systems are very fluid and intuitive to use, and this certainly fit all of those criteria. Why didn't we get this like a half hour ago? I feel like so much of the initial backstory in the beginning of the game could have been cut out because it's not even really a tutorial. It's a tutorial of how to move around town and how do you really need 40 minutes of that before you get to any real substantive story development and gameplay? Nah, that's ridiculous. So we're going back to the Velvet Room. And you notice he's sitting on a chair with Orpheus's harp as the backrest. I have to go back to see if that was there before to give that foreshadowing because I didn't notice it before. I don't think they really showed it before, but that's it. See ya.